A very good morning to all of you. I am Mrs. Aradhana Rana, the founder principal of the Icon Public School, Ahmednagar. Today we are going to talk on a very interesting topic, priority management. This is one life skill that I think all of us need to imbibe. And before we get talking on it, let's watch a small video together. It's called Rocks, Pebbles and Sand. This is the jar of life. This is about priorities in life. The professor has 3 boxes, one full of sand, another full of pebbles, and the third one has big stones. He fills this jar of life with sand, then he puts in the pebbles, and he asks the audience, is there some space left in the jar? So they said yes. So then he fills up the jar with big stones. As he fills them up, you realize the jar is fast filling up. But there's still some stones left in the box. There's no place for these stones. So he moves to the second experiment. Here, he puts the big stones in the jar first. Mind you, all 3 boxes have the same amount of sand, pebbles, and the same number of stones. The size of the jar remains the same. Now first, when he's put in the rocks, then he puts in the pebbles and asks the audience, is there any space left? They say yes. And then he pours in the sand. Now you notice, as he pours in the sand makes its own place and the jar is nearly full. It's not yet full. In the first instance, it filled up before he could place all the stones. Now it's all full. Now this was the story of rocks, pebbles and sand. I'm sure you've got the drift. Recognize the rocks and put them in first. The pebbles will find their place and the sand will make its own space. This is a life lesson we learn from this video. The rocks, pebbles and sand represent the big and the small things in life. The rocks are the big things in life, the very important things in life. Health, family, career, education, financial security. Pebbles are important things in life, but we can do without them if need be. That's a job, a house, hobbies, friendship, travel. They're all very important. But when things are tough, we can do without them. Like in these difficult times, there are lots of people who don't have jobs, some don't have houses, hobbies we don't have time for, friendships have become distant, and travel is virtually non-existent. Yet life carries on. What it wouldn't have carried on without was health, family support, a career, not a job, but a career, education, some kind of financial security. These are the major things in life. And sand, this represents the non-essentials. It's like social media, gossip, TV, meaningless socializing like parties. These are things that are really not essential to life at all. But if there is some space left in our life, they surely add color to our life. So it's not like they are not needed at all, but they take the last priority. And this sums up this whole topic of priority management beautifully. This is a very famous video that has been doing the rounds, and it has taught us a lot in a short video. Now, how do we know what our priorities in life are? So here's a small little quiz which we'll do and help you judge what your priorities in life are. there are a set of these 5 situations which are given to you, and what would you do first in a situation where all 5 are happening simultaneously? So what is it that one thing that you would do first? Try and judge for yourself, and then we'll analyze the results. 1, your baby's crying. 2, there's clothes hanging and it started raining or pouring. The third one is that the water is running from the tap and your kitchen might get flooded. 4th, the doorbell rings. And 5th, the phone rings. So which is it that you will do first? Just think about it. I'll give you a couple of seconds and then we will analyze. Okay, so you've chosen what you'll do first, and let's now see what it means. If you decided to attend to the baby first, it means that you put a first priority as family. If you decided to pick up your clothes first, it means that your first priority is your physical self. If you did the third one, that is switch off the tap first, it means your first priority is wealth. And if you did the fourth one, to go running to see who's at the door, it means you value friendships above all. And if you went to answer the phone first before doing anything else, it means your first priority is your job and career. This is a small psychological kind of test, and but it somehow tells us what our priorities could be, and see how you've done for yourself. Now, once we've decided the priorities, time management is an integral part of priority management. Priority management would not have any meaning if you did not manage your time well. Now, all of us have 24 hours at our disposal. Whether it is the biggest leader in the world, whether it is a great entrepreneur, whether it is any successful person, you, I, everybody, we've got these 24 hours to do what we have to do in life. Now, what we put into these 24 hours decides our fate. There are some people who stretch these 24 hours into 36. The time does not stretch, but what they put in is enough to be put into 36 hours. And that is the formula for their success. So that is why make time management a habit with you. Prioritizing time will make you either a hard worker or a smart worker. What is the difference? The hard worker thinks of the quantity of time he puts into a task. He is the one who's always busy, works 20 hours a day, but may or may not get the desired results. A smart worker does not put in that kind of quantity of time, but decides on the value of the task as to how the quality of the product is, which means may not put in this kind of time to do a particular task, but achieves much more than he has put in. This is the smart worker. Your efficiency does not depend on your input. You could be working and slogging 24 hours a day, but if your results don't show it, it's all useless. Hardworking, even an ant is hardworking, but what does it produce at the end of the day? Look at the quantity of food it gathers at the end of the day. So it is not the hard work, it is the result of the hard work. You must have come across a lot of people who say, oh, I work so hard but nobody appreciates it and I don't get my due. That's because the amount of time he spends is not commensurate to the productivity of the person. Whereas there are a lot of people who seem to be having a lot of fun in life and they produce a lot of results, they are successful, and we are so envious of them that in spite of not working so hard, they are very successful. These are the smart workers, these are the efficient workers, and that is where we have to reach. Being busy and being productive are two different things. Just being busy can give you that false feeling of accomplishment, that oh, I was so busy, I worked from morning to night, but it steals away your time. The productive person has his priorities right, will do the correct things and do it in a way that results will show. Also, to be productive, you have to know when to say no. Everything in life is not as important. We all at some time or the other think that the world rests on our shoulders. It absolutely doesn't. There are a lot of things where you can say no, and so that you can say yes to the more important things in life. Now, how to be a smart worker? To be a smart worker, you not only have to do the right things, but you have to do them rightly. But first you have to see that what you are doing is right, which means that you have to prioritize your work. If the ladder is not leaning against the right wall, every step that we take just gets up to the wrong place faster. So then it's not the time that you're managing, it is what your goal or perception of goal is that makes you a smart worker. So there are two things to it. One, to do the right thing, which is to know your priorities, to put your priorities in order. The second is to do it rightly, correctly, which means how you achieve your goal is doing it correctly. The first step is planning and organizing. A lot of us, we don't lay that kind of stress on planning. We delve into work. Now, this does not save us any time. In fact, if you have no plan, you go back and forth trying to correct things, trying to remember things. So as a result, you spend much more time on a task. So the center point of being an effective worker is to plan and to organize. The importance of planning can never be undermined. The planning of any task has to be absolutely meticulous. Each step, each little portion has to be planned to complete a task well. The amount of time required to plan each portion of the task should be planned. Then you have to have enough time to get the work done and cater for any unforeseen circumstances also. So schedule specific time into your calendar to complete each steps and then stick to the plan. It's very important that each portion of the plan is planned very well and meticulously. After you have done the planning, smart working involves working together with a team, with people. Divide work. If you are doing the same task like in a school, teachers, there are 2-3 teachers who are probably teaching the same class, different sections. If you're doing the same work, individually, you'll take much more time. It's better to divide and share work. Then as an administrator or as a manager, it's very important to delegate work. Now there are certain jobs which require a certain skill. There are others which require other skills. One, you may not have the skill for doing certain jobs. It's better to delegate it to somebody who has the skill. Or the value of the work that you do is much higher than the value of the work you are doing. Say if I'm a teacher, I have the creative skill to teach. Why would I spend my time doing a clerical job which does not require my skill? I could get somebody much cheaper to do it. Why would I spend this kind of time and effort doing a job which anybody would do it in lesser time and cheaper? So that is very important to remember how and when to delegate work. Then use technology. A lot of us have a mental block to technology. We feel that it takes too much time and effort. But the time and effort spent on learning the use of technology is far less than the time and effort you would take to do the work without technology. Technology is there to make life easier for you. It is worth spending that time to learn it and then use it to become an efficient worker. And always remember, your greatest resource is you. You have to recognize your own potential and use it to the fullest. There are a lot of people who do not realize what they are worth and thus do not make use of opportunities because the realization doesn't come to them. So these habits make you a smart worker and must make sure that priorities, once they are decided, these qualities are imbibed so that they can be made use of. Now, a lot of people come up with this sentence is very common. I don't have enough time. Analyze why. Because the amount of time, like I said, is the same that is given to you and a person who manages a country. Why wouldn't you have enough time? So ask, do I have the inclination? Or don't I have the inclination or don't have the time? What is it that I don't have? Once you get the answer to that, if you don't have the inclination, see, is it important? If it's important, that means you need to get rid of some of the sand, some of the pebbles to accommodate the rocks. And if it is not so important, well, then we don't need to make time for not very important things. But if you feel that actually you lack the time to do a particular stuff, please analyze whether you are giving too much time to the non-essentials in life. Now, if we start our day with Facebook chatting and seeing our emails or seeing how many likes we've got, we obviously will not have the time for bigger things in life. So this is time management, and ask yourself, am I managing my time effectively? How can I manage my time effectively? What are the habits that can help me manage my time effectively? 1. Make notes. Now, most of us are shy away from putting down on paper what we plan or what we need to do. We think it's very bookish and we think, of course, we'll remember and we have a plan in our head. It's not so. 1. You clutter your brain too much with what you're supposed to do. 2. With so many things to do, you may leave out the important things. If you do, you have to come back to them, which means you become inefficient. You spend too much time going to and fro your goals. So, very important to put on paper what you have planned. Now, once you start putting on paper your plan of action, that is the time clarity of thought comes. And you can assign the toughest jobs first. You can give it first priority. You can think what the toughest jobs are, what the most challenging tasks are. And when you do that, you can prioritize them and put them first. Secondly, start early so that during the day or during the week, whatever your planning period is, you have the time to correct things if things have not gone the right way. If you start late, if you start to the end of your submission periods, that is the time you don't have any time leeway to go back and forth to anything. So that for prioritizing tasks, it's very important to set the most difficult tasks early in the day and at the beginning of your project. Then learn to say no to unimportant tasks. First, see what is important and what is not important. Now, when you put all this plan on paper, that is when you will realize that it's so easy to become clear about your objectives. So, it's very important that you put on paper, you plan and cut out all the things which are unimportant and carry on with your project. Now, equally important is taking small breaks. Now, if we carry on with our task without taking a break, it becomes monotonous. The brain gets tired, physically you get tired. So, carrying on has no meaning. The efficiency of human body and mind reduces. So, what you have to see is that you imbibe whatever work you're doing or whatever learning you are imbibing, you imbibe at the correct time, at the correct pace. So it's very important to take small breaks, come back rejuvenated so that your energies are preserved. When you are planning, always remember the sand. See, the sand can only come in if there is some place left in your life. Otherwise, the non-essentials have to be cut out. So depending on the kind of job you're doing, once you finish the job, these kind of non-essentials can take place in your life. Learn to delegate, be a multiplier, which means the results of a team are what matter. So when all of you work together, the results multiply. The effort divides, but the results multiply. So become a multiplier, not just a linear worker. Your output will be much less if you work alone. If you work in harmony with others, the output becomes more. Keep track of time. I mean, a lot of people I've seen who will start a work, and after that they will lose track of time altogether, and they will continue till there is no time left. It often happens to students while answering a paper. They know a couple of questions, and once they start answering the questions, they get so involved that they forget that there are other questions to answer, and hence they leave out a lot of portion on the question paper. Break tasks into smaller goals. Now, human mind is such that it expects a reward for every action. Whether it's a baby or adults, all of us expect rewards. It may not be tangible rewards. So, if you divide your task into smaller portions, after completing each portion, the reward is the fact that you have achieved. It gives you pleasure, and then it motivates you to do more. So once you have smaller goals, you are able to achieve much more. Whereas the long-term goals, you have to wait till the end. By then you may lose your motivation to do a task. Sometimes we just misjudge our own priorities. That little exercise that we did in the beginning of the session, it's of course nice as a game, as an activity. But in the larger canvas of life, we have to know what our priorities are. There's some questions you can ask yourself to know what is it exactly that you want to achieve. First, what are your values? What are your goals? Where do you want to reach? And what are your responsibilities? Generally, our priorities are a result of our responsibilities. So we have to be very clear about these three things. Then what is the impact of this activity on yourself or people around you or your workplace? And is your priority yours or someone else's? Very often we mistake our priorities with someone else's priorities. We have to make a clear distinction of what our priorities are and whether someone else is our priority or is above our own priority. Once we have decided what our priorities are, we have to decide the task at hand. Is it important enough? Is it urgent enough? Is it important and urgent, important or urgent, or neither? So these kind of decisions, when you have to take, these kind of decisions decide what you want to do with the task and how important it is for you. This is beautifully explained in this matrix, Eisenhower's priority principle. He has simplified this whole concept into this matrix, which is very nice to go by. Divided the matrix into 4 portions. The 2 columns are urgent and not urgent, and the 2 rows are important and not important. So there are 4 squares which form. One is urgent and important. So these are the tasks, you do it immediately. Do them immediately. Then there are urgent and not important. Now these are the tasks which you can delegate to somebody else because they need your urgent attention, but they're not very important in the bigger scheme of things. So you can probably tell somebody else to do it. Then there are certain tasks but they are not urgent but important. Now these you can schedule later, you don't have to do it now, but definitely they need a lot of your attention. And then there is a 4th category which says They're neither urgent nor important. So these kind of tasks you can either eliminate or wait till everything else is done and accommodate them last. We'll do a small activity. Get a pen and paper and make 4 columns like we just saw the matrix, Eisenhower's priority principle. Just make 4 simple columns and mark them: 1. Urgent and important. 2. Urgent, not important. 3. Not urgent and not important. And 4. Important but not urgent. So in these 4 columns, I'll give you a list of about 20 activities. You don't have to write the full activities. As you listen to them and see them on the screen, just put the serial number of the activity in the column. So if the serial number is 1, you decide where activity number 1 goes. In which of these 4 columns does activity number 1 go? So we'll read out the activities slowly and then we'll see what comes out as a result. Now the first set is 1. Save money. So put number 1 in the column you think it belongs to. 2. Going on a shopping spree. 3. Putting out a fire in your kitchen. There's something which has caught fire in your kitchen. You have to put it out. 4. Meeting the deadline to pay taxes. So you are at the end of the period almost, and the deadline for paying taxes is about to get over. 5. Answering phone calls. You don't know whose phone call it is, just answering phone calls. 6. Eating biscuits and chocolate. 7. Facebook scroll. 8. Starting a family. You're a newly wedded couple and you want to start a family. 9. Blocking your credit card after a fraudulent transaction. Some fraud has happened and you have to block your credit card. 10. Booking a flight for a holiday or for some work. 11. Watching TV. 12. Answering emails. 13. Helping a friend who asks you for help to fix his computer. He has come to you asking for help. 14. Exercising. 15. Making time to spend with friends. 16. Pursuing a hobby. 17. Gambling. 18. Fix a broken pipe in your kitchen. There's water coming out, kitchen is getting flooded, so fix a broken pipe in your kitchen. 19. Attending to a crying infant. And 20. Studying for a degree. Now these 1 to 20, they should have come in one of the columns, whichever you think is appropriate. So these 20 numbers should be there in your 4 columns. Okay? Now let's see where they fit in. The tasks which are both urgent and important is number 4, 3, 18, 19 and 9. Urgent, that you have to put out a fire in your kitchen, it will get otherwise burned down. Meeting a deadline to pay taxes, otherwise you'll be fined. Fix a broken pipe in your kitchen might get flooded. Attending to your crying infant, obviously very urgent, very important. And blocking your credit card after a fraudulent transaction. Again, very important, otherwise you'll lose a lot of money. Now the second one is important but not urgent. This is like saving money, important thing, studying for a degree, starting a family, exercising, making time to spend with friends, and pursuing a hobby. So number 1, 10, 8, 14, 15 and 17. The third category is urgent but not important. Now this is a category most people think that this is the most urgent and important mean the same. No, urgent and important don't mean the same. Urgent can be something which needs immediate attention, but it's not important to you, so probably somebody else can also do it. Like helping a friend who asks for your help to fix his computer. For him it's urgent, for you it's not. So probably you could send somebody else if you don't have the time. If you have the time, if you have the inclination, surely. But it's not a very important task for you. Then answering phone calls. Somebody else can do it. It's urgent. It needs to be done, but not necessarily by you. Booking a flight, same. Answering emails, same. It is not something that you have to address because it's not as important for you. But yes, they have to be addressed, so they are urgent. So number 13, 5, 9 and 12. Then they are neither urgent nor important. This is watching TV, going on a shopping spree, Facebook scroll, eating biscuits and chocolate, gambling. So number 11, 2, 7, 6 and 18. Now these are tasks which are neither urgent nor important, but if you see your life pattern, a lot of us give a lot of importance to it. Maybe not consciously, but subconsciously they occupy a lot of our time. How do you know if you're not managing your time effectively? Now, a lot of people don't even know that they're not managing their time effectively. So these are few things that you can question yourself about. And if you feel that your answer to all of them is yes, then that means there is something that needs to be done with your time management. 1. Do you often think you could have done a better job on the task if you would have had more time? A lot of us feel that if I had the time now, I would have done a fantastic job. That means you've not managed your time properly. It's not that you had less time. Do you consistently miss deadlines? This a lot of us face in our schools also and in our workplaces. There will be a few people who will always ask you for a little more time. Ma'am, tomorrow. So, are you the kind who's asking for extended deadlines? Do you consistently ask for that extra time to get your work done? Do you have to pull all-nighters or rush at the last minute to get your work done? Now, this for some people is a habit. They will procrastinate throughout, and just when the task has to be completed or a submission has to be done, they'll start working on it, and then they will keep up the whole night. It gives you that false sense of importance and efficiency that I stayed up all night doing this. If you've stayed up all night doing a task, you need to question your time management skills, because if you're doing anything last minute, that means the time you had to do it, you have obviously not done it well. But again, there are some people who just work so well under pressure. So for them, they need to analyze their work patterns. Now, what we have to understand is the difference between time management and priority management, and what is more important, what comes first. The key is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Now, what is important is to prioritize first and then make a time schedule for those priorities. If you're going to prioritize later, your time schedule is first, you'll be doing wrong things and you'll be reaching wrong destinations. So first you have to decide what are your priorities and then put them in the time management scale. So priority management comes before time management. Now we've talked a lot about prioritizing in general, but since this is a teacher's training workshop, let's see how we can prioritize tasks as a teacher. What do you do as a teacher? One, they are general points which are now more specific. Write down your goals and plan. This is what most of us do. In schools, you're told to write syllabus planning. Syllabus planning is for the full year, then full month, then divided into weeks, and then to every day. Now, why is this procedure followed? Because it's very important to plan and then to write down your plan so that you work on it consistently. Don't try and use all your knowledge. As teachers, a lot of times we have so much knowledge in us that we want to give it all to the students. Just remember that when the taker stops taking, the rest is all waste. So there is no point pouring knowledge into hands that are not receiving. So be very conscious of how much the students can take and give them as much so that they can be prepared to receive more at a later stage. If a teacher who's teaching class 10 is filling in details of what she read in class 2 and 3 and 4, the students are not ready to take it. Perhaps they already know. The converse is also true. Try giving students of class 4 and 5 what you know is useful for class 10. It's all a waste. So you have to prioritize and see what is it that the students will receive. Focus on purpose and not on procedure. Now this is very important. Now CBSE has also woken up to the fact that education has to be learning outcome based. There is no point feeding in a lot of matter to students which is not going to be put into use. If I am not going to do anything in mathematics in my later life, why would I learn these complex mathematical solutions when I want to be a writer? So of course with the basics, you got to know the basics, but how much? So this is the planning that as teachers, as administrators, and as planners, as people in authority, we have to see that there's a lot of wastage that is going on. As a result, we are not focusing on the purpose. We have to know what use is this knowledge going to be put to, and probably use the time to give the kind of knowledge a student will use. Assess frequently so that teaching can be more focused and relevant. At every stage we need to analyze, we need to assess how much a student has understood. There is no point teaching a full lesson and then realizing, oh, nobody understood anything, and you go back. After each paragraph, after each lesson, after each term syllabus, if we assess, we know if we are going wrong and where we need to focus on. So this is very important to become an efficient teacher. Similarly, as a student, how to prioritize. Now, if we are studying something, we are students, it applies to us. Otherwise, as mentors, we need to guide our students how to prioritize and what to do. The first point always remains the same for any profession, in life in general. Write down your goals and plan. Planning is the crux of efficiency. Don't study all the time, do effective learning. A lot of students, they keep sitting on their desks for hours, and parents feel that the child is always studying and not achieving. This is the main reason. You don't have to study all the time, you have to do effective studying. Whenever learning stops, you're seeping and stops, please stop studying. There is no point sitting and spending a lot of time without doing anything else. It's not going to help. Focus on concepts and not cramming. No amount of cramming can be enough. So once you know the concepts, you can apply it to other areas. So it's much better, more efficient to focus on concepts, whether it's teaching or learning. During tests, work on the high assessment, high investment, high return zones. High return zones doesn't pertain to business only. For a student, high return zone is marks. So when you're studying for tests, focus on portions that will give you the high return of marks, so that you feel motivated to work more. Concepts throughout the year, but during exams you need to focus on areas where you will score high. Do not multitask. A lot of students, sit with music, sit with gadgets. Distracting things should be out of reach, no matter what you do, whether you're a student studying, a teacher teaching. Can you imagine teaching in a class and having your WhatsApp on? So these kind of distractions, nobody can multitask this much that you can have all these kind of things distracting you and still get your highest level of efficiency. You may be able to work, but not work efficiently. Now towards the end of it, I am showing you this image. There are two portions to the image. On the left hand side you see many balloons, and on the right hand side you see 3 balloons. Now your activity or your job is to keep all these balloons up in air, or the maximum number of balloons up in air. Which one would be easier? Yes, 3 balloons will be much easier, because you can concentrate on these 3. When you have so many, there's a lot of distraction, and you don't know which one to keep in the air, so you will probably lose all of them. But when you have these 3 balloons in the air, you know which one to focus on when, and you can manage it. This is the same with prioritizing work. When you prioritize, you focus on the key areas, the most important things in your life, the rocks in your life. The rest will just follow. So this is the mantra for management. Prioritizing is not something that is detached from management. This is life management, to prioritize your work and manage your life well. So let's do a quick recap. The 5 secrets of priority management. These 5 things which are absolutely essential. 1, have clear objectives. Unless you identify your objectives, there can be no prioritization. Have a planner, plan meticulously. Again, the most important thing to do is to plan. Stay focused. Do not cheat the planner. Always have it in your mind what you have to achieve. Delegate. Do not try and do everything yourself. Delegate to others. Believe in teamwork, and be a smart worker and not a hard worker. So with these 5 basic points, we end the presentation for today, and I hope we all have gained from it, and we will apply these principles in our lives also. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. It couldn't be very activity based and interactive because we have our own limitations on online teaching, but I hope that all of us will go out a bit enriched after this presentation, and this will be uploaded on YouTube also. You can go and search it by my name, and I hope all of you, since you're all educators, you make education your priority. Thank you very much.